President Biden is on the road today as part of his Getting America Back on Track tour. He is in Virginia, highlighting how, if passed, the American Jobs and Families plans could help Americans with education. He visited Yorktown Elementary School alongside the First Lady and later a community college. The two ambitious packages have a multi-trillion-dollar price tag. Today, President Biden stressed the importance of education.
12 years is no longer enough to compete with the world in the 21st century and lead the 21st century. That's why my American Families Plan guarantees 4 additional years of public education for every person in America, starting as early as we can.
For more on all of this, I want to bring in CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Hi, Weijia. So the president is clearly highlighting today what the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan will do for American education. Put this into context for us. Is this a major game changer when it comes to the educational landscape in the U.S.?
It certainly is for the people it would impact. We are talking to a student in just a little bit who says that she's only able to go to community college part-time right now because she's also working to support her family, and this would allow her to have that financial support and put the money that she's making at work toward paying the bills and paying groceries and paying for, the things that her younger siblings need. So certainly for those people who don't have access to free tuition and who don't have access to universal pre-K, this is going to make a huge difference. And these two bills go hand in hand. And the president, on the one hand, wants to create jobs in the American Jobs Plan with new projects around the entire country having to do with more traditional infrastructure. But he says in order to give Americans an opportunity to do those jobs, they need support, too, with what the administration is describing as so-called human infrastructure. And so that's why you see these two proposals, and that's why you see Republicans pushing back. Their argument is that a lot of what's in the bill that you just mentioned with regard to education is not infrastructure at all. And even though they are good ideas, they can't get on board with passing this in the country and promoting it to their constituents as part of infrastructure.
Interesting, Weijia, because of course the Biden administration plans to meet with Republicans this week to work on whatever they can collaborate on. As you pointed out, though, if they sort of object to the human infrastructure parts of this bill, which appear to be, according to our polling, pretty overwhelmingly popular right now with Americans because many Americans stand to gain, as you pointed out, how can they sell that politically to their constituents, sort of standing in the way of a bill that appears to be popular?
Well, that's exactly the argument that the White House is making to these GOP lawmakers, which is that, we are seeking bipartisanship in, the way that we did with the American Rescue Package, the COVID relief bill, which was going to straight to Americans. And that's why we are seeing this big tour. That's why we are seeing these polls come out, because, they're going to tell lawmakers that, look, our ideas, our plans are widely popular, and you're going to have to answer to your supporters if you decide not to vote for them. And so there's still a long way to go in terms of negotiating, and we will see many more meetings, not only with Republicans, but also with moderate Democrats who might not be on board just yet, including West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, who has said he's very uncomfortable with the price tag. So, of course, everyone's talking about whether the White House will try to do this alone with Democrats like we saw in the COVID relief package, but that requires every single Democrat. So it's not just Republicans that they have to make sure they can try to sway, but also some Democrats.
Right. The Biden administration is set to reunite 4 migrant families separated under the Trump administration this week. Can you tell us about how this came about and how the Biden administration is on a larger scale addressing immigration?
Well, after the president took office, he formed a task force that was specifically designed to reunite these families that were separated during the previous administration. And so we're hearing from a lot of advocates who are praising this initial group of families that are coming back together, but they say so much work has to be done because by their estimates, more than 1,000 families are still separated out of some 5,500 who were separated under the Trump administration. So 4 families is not satisfactory for many people who've been working for years to try to get these families back together. The president, of course, continues to urge lawmakers for something longer term when it comes to immigration reform, but that is going to be challenging because, Congresses have been trying to do this for several years now. And so he is doing whatever he can. He's already rolled back several policies that were in place under the Trump administration. He's trying to revamp the refugee system. But overall, he continues to get some criticism because there are young migrants that continue to try to cross the border, and the administration is handling a lot of these young children. We're also seeing that migrants are still coming here, adults, I mean, and, they are trying to address that by making the vice president sort of the person in charge of dealing with the root causes of why people are trying to come here in the first place. And so we're seeing a lot of work, but it's going to take time. And that's something that the president himself continues to stress.
Weijia Jiang at the White House, thank you so much.
Sure.